The jungler is probably the most important role in League of Legends. They are seated with the most responsibility of the 5 roles, needing to farm camps, gank lanes, and take objectives. Jungle players get a lot of flack for doing badly, which can happen for a variety of reasons. Maybe you got invaded and lost a buff. Maybe you set up an objective and your team didn't rotate for it. Maybe someone locked in Nunu mid with Ghost Cleanse. Regardless, the jungler is under a lot of pressure to do well. Ideally, you should be doing all you can to ensure your jungler has a stress-free game. Tilterella, an OCE Master Sion player, has taken this idea to the extreme. He has devised a strategy that simultaneously takes pressure off of his jungler and annoys the hell out of the enemy jungler. Tilterella's double jungle has sparked immense controversy on the OCE server, but the results of the strategy are clear to see. Playing as a second jungler splits the responsibility and forces the enemy jungler to do more work to counter them. He reached Challenger using this strategy near the end of 2023 and continues to refine it to this day. Though he's had great success with double jungle, there are players who despise playing with this strategy on their team, and even more who hate playing against it. In this video, we'll be exploring how this insane looking strategy works and why people hate it so much. Tilterella is a support top main, previously Challenger, currently hovering around Masters. He made his start in Season 3, and reached Challenger for the first time in Season 6, playing mainly Sion top, and has been Challenger every year since then. After a few years of reaching Challenger consistently, Tilt decided to play more off-meta strategies, including Camille support, full AP Amumu, and Smite Orianna. Tilterella continued to climb for Challenger, using mostly meta strategies, but sometimes branching out into the more absurd. Late in the 2022 season, he started playing Smite TP Sion support, which has evolved over time into the double jungle Sion he plays today. The core strategy has remained the same as he perfected his playstyle, even as elements like his summoner spells change. When he isn't playing the strategy, he queues support with top second. As a support, he plays a lot of Braum, with some Renata and Leona mixed in, and as a top laner, he plays his signature Sion, both the tank and assassin builds, depending on what his team needs. During Champ Select, Tilterella assesses whether he can pull off double jungle this game. He needs his bot laner to be self-sufficient and able to farm in a 1v2 situation, so he usually won't try it if the enemy bot lane has a strong engage. If he decides that his bot laner can survive, Tilterella locks in Sion support, taking Flash and Smite. When the game starts, Tilt takes the blue jungle pet, since he wants the movement speed for late game, and pings for an invade. Typically, he'll take Oracle Lens to make sure he isn't on a ward when he invades. He then passes towards the enemy jungle, trying to find out where they are and invade them. He asks his team to ward for him so he can get more information about the enemy jungler's pathing. Tilt will take a camp that can be cleared easily without Smite, like wolves, krugs, or raptors. He then uses the vision his team has placed to ambush the jungler, or simply walks up to contest their camps. Tilt can sometimes kill the jungler when he invades like this. Even if he dies, Sion's passive is able to deal high damage to camps and the jungler, and if he manages to steal a buff, he'll get it when he respawns. Tilt's strategy during the early and mid game is to observe the pathing of both junglers, and plan his movements accordingly, taking camps before the enemy jungler can get to them. Tilt's understanding of pathing and jungle tracking is insanely good, allowing him to follow where the jungler is with minimal vision. This lets him waltz right in and funnel resources from the enemy team to his own. This strategy works because it has a double effect. Every camp stolen is gold gained for his team, and simultaneously is gold lost for his opponents, effectively granting more gold than the camp is worth. The stolen camps also affect objective taking. The jungle item starts with 40 stacks, which are consumed by feeding treats to your jungle pet. You gain a treat every 60 seconds, and feeding your pet gives you an extra 20 gold. Tilterella almost always has a treat when he steals a camp, meaning he's gaining much more gold per CS than he should be. At 20 stacks, your Smite upgrades to Unleashed Smite, which now deals 900 damage instead of the 600 that base Smite deals. Once you reach 0 stacks, your jungle quest completes and Unleashed Smite upgrades into Primal Smite, dealing 1200 damage. Completing the quest also gives a permanent buff depending on which jungle item you took. By denying the enemy jungler their camps, Tilt delays their Smite upgrades, allowing his jungler to always win the Smite battle. Because of this, Tilt prioritizes stealing enemy camps instead of taking his own junglers ones, but he will take camps if his jungler isn't going to path near them for a while. Doing this lets the camps respawn with a higher level, granting his jungler more XP in the long run. He can also coordinate objectives with his jungler, either smiting simultaneously to guarantee the objective, or moving to the other pit to take 2 objectives at once. Tilterella's purpose isn't to become the carry by funneling gold towards himself. Rather, he plays like an anti-carry, suppressing the enemy jungler and allowing his to thrive without the threat of interference. He mostly builds tank items like Sunfire Aegis, Polar Radiance, and Iceborn Gauntlet to provide a beefy frontline for his team. Occasionally, he'll build Umbral Glaive for its vision control, incorporating it into his tank build. The items he buys are typically cheaper ones, since he isn't making as much gold as his laners. If executed correctly, the strategy pushes the enemy jungler out of the game, putting them behind in XP and CS. Tilterella's ADC will have a level lead on their laners, since they've been soaking up solo lane XP, though at the cost of being behind in CS. Sion is able to play double jungle because of his ability to secure camps, his utility and crowd control, and his low reliance on gold. Tilterella plays his strategy exclusively on Sion, but I believe there are other champions that can pull off double jungle. First is Iceborn. While he might not look too threatening, he is the fastest jungler to reach level 2, beating every other jungler in the game with his passive and smite. He can smite a camp and walk straight to the enemy jungler, contesting them while they're still fighting their first camp. He also provides shielding to his team, making up for the lack of a dedicated support in the mid to late game, and his ult Daisy acts as a strong front lane and disengage tool, depending on what he needs. The second champion I think can pull off double jungle is Shaco. His clear speed isn't the fastest, but the psychological factor of playing against a permanently invading Shaco is worth more than any amount of gold. His Q, Deceive, is a fantastic escape tool, should your invade take a turn for the worse. And if he builds AP burn items like Blackfire Torch and Liandry's Torment, he can litter the jungle with his Jack-in-the-Boxes, harassing the jungler from anywhere on the map. The third contender for double jungle is Rammus, though you can only really pick him if the enemy team has a lot of AD or attack speed champs. Rammus has a decent clear speed, and is fast enough that he can escape if things get hairy. He also gains damage and survivability from building armor, meaning he doesn't need much gold to be useful. Late game, his ult, Soaring Slam, lets him pick priority targets like the enemy ADC and lock them down. Tilterella's Sion runes are vastly different from the meta. First, he takes Glacial Augment for the AoE slow and damage reduction. The slow also gives him time to catch up to enemies or run away. Next, he takes Hexflash, which he's been experimenting with for faster jungle pathing. Sometimes he'll take Ghost instead of Flash, and take Cashback instead. From the second row, he takes Biscuit Delivery, wanting the extra health and mana for early skirmishes. Finally, he takes Approach Velocity to chase down his enemies. For secondary runes, he sometimes takes Domination, going Zombie Ward and Relentless Hunter, and sometimes Sorcery, taking Mana Flow Band and Waterwalking. Zombie Ward helps gain vision control, making up for the lack of support item on his team, and Relentless Hunter lets him move around the map faster. Waterwalking gives him more adaptive force for river skirmishes, and Mana Flow Band helps him keep up with the cost of his abilities. Sometimes he takes Nimbus Cloak instead, making him harder to catch and more of a nuisance. For shards, he'll take Haste, Adaptive Force, and Flat Health. You'll notice that Tilterella's runes and items are all tuned towards his early game, rather than the scaling runes that players like the Baus FFS prefer. He plays to gain an early lead, which translates to late game strength for his laners, not to gain a lead himself. Late game, he is essentially a CC bot, providing utility to his team and letting them do the carrying. In League of Legends, players are distributed on the map in a very specific way. One player top, jungle and mid, and two players bot, the support and ADC. This has been the norm for over a decade, and players are used to seeing this in their games. Double jungle fundamentally changes the role split, with one player in each lane and two junglers. This not only puts both teams in an unfamiliar situation, but also unbalances the lane split. The enemy jungler is fighting two opponents, while Tilt's bot lane is also fighting a 1v2. This is frustrating for both teams if they aren't prepared for it, since they're put out of their depth and forced to rethink their game plans. People don't trust double jungle when they see it simply because no one plays it. When a laner locks in smite, it typically means they're going to start griefing and lose you the game. Tilterella's strategy, to those who are unwilling to consider it a possibility, looks like someone running it down. Invading constantly makes him look like he's trying to feed kills to the enemy team. People distrust it immediately, and associate the strategy with Inting, even though Tilt is trying to win. His bot laners especially have reason to complain, since they're put at the mercy of the 1v2, and anyone who feels like picking up a free killed bot. A smart jungler will take advantage of the missing support and camp the bot lane, feeding their ADC gold and letting them reach their item spikes much sooner. This can snowball into an unplayable mid and late game, and when this happens it only reinforces the idea that Tilt is an inter in the minds of his teammates. Some people have started insulting him directly, regardless of how well he does. He takes this in stride however, embracing his nicknames, including the Cockroach of High Elo and Delusional Pig, among less charitable ones. Tilt understands that the community at large doesn't approve of his strategy, regardless of its effectiveness, so he uses it infrequently. He'll usually queue as a tank support like Braum, still providing utility to his team and foregoing a damage build. This strategy is difficult. It requires you to know jungle timers and be able to predict jungle movement with precision, as well as ordinary jungling skills like pathing and optimal clearing. What makes it worse is that solo queue players are not used to the strategy. Unlike Baus's gameplay, which doesn't impact the other lanes as much until the mid to late game, Tilterella leaving the bot lane at level 1 impacts his ADC immediately, which can cause them to become tilted. You need to be good at the strategy and also have your team be completely on board. I do not recommend you try this in rank. I don't recommend most of the strategies I showcase, but especially don't play this one. Tilt has received so much backlash for his playstyle that even he plays it infrequently, choosing to play normal tank supports most of the time. He has even been wrongfully banned for the strategy in the past, which he details in these videos on his channel. Even though I wouldn't recommend the strategy for ranked, there are still things you can take away from it to win more games. Supports and higher elos will leave lane for minutes at a time, either to help with objectives or to gank other lanes. Their ADCs understand that this is normal and will play around their supports' roam timers, continuing to farm as well as they can. As an ADC, you should learn to accept and play around your support's roaming, and as a support, you should be more proactive in helping the other lanes. Try this out in a 5-stack with your friends, and you'll see how strong double jungle is. Try this out in solo queue, and you'll find yourself back in the lobby with 30 less LP. Thanks for making it to the end. This is my second player showcase, also on a Sion player funnily enough. Whether you think the strategy is viable or not, I hope you come away from this video appreciating Tilterella's ingenuity. Make sure to check out his socials, and give him a follow if you're interested in seeing more of him. HappyChimeNoises also made a video on Tilterella in Season 12, when he had just started the strategy, so I'll link that in the description too. A lot has changed about double jungle since then, but the core idea of the video is still the same. Next time I do a player showcase, I'll be sure to pick someone other than a Sion main. If you have any ideas for videos or players to showcase, leave them in the comments. Thanks again for watching.
They're backing off right now. Okay, Rocco's still here. After you get your thing, if I can land my stun, then maybe you can come down and pick up the kill. If she stays. Oh, she does stay.
Look at her! She's still 0 CS!
Sorry, Francis.
Oh no.